how to use online communication tools, how to use social media in their journalism, and then how to use software or visualizations to report on stories of a local and national interest. So that's how the course is advertised. So prior to this kind of course redesign, there was a couple issues that we experienced with the course in teaching it. So the first was that we wanted students to be able to deliver content online, but we really didn't have a method of them doing that was realistic to the real world, or even that advanced. So prior to this course, students were creating their own personal blog sites. And these blog sites, they would post their news stories on, and then they would essentially print out a paper copy of the page where the blog was on, and that was what they used for their news assignments. A little bit more kind of using a tool, they would create news stories, create a YouTube account on their own account, and then they would post their video to that, and then instructors could log onto YouTube and rate the videos that have been posted. But one of the issues that we encounter as journalism instructors is that the way we're teaching journalists at the student level wasn't teaching them how modern newsrooms exist. There was no collaboration, there was no access to a tool that would allow editors to go in and leave feedback, create an editorial process, and a lot of the tools that they were using were kind of basic, and they weren't really reflective of the skills and tools that modern journalists in an online digital environment are using. So how do we take this new newsroom model, the digital newsroom, and incorporate it into the classroom, was the idea behind this grant and this course redesign. So just a couple of the tools that I integrated into the course to kind of bring it up to date with what journalists are doing nowadays. The first thing was we had to create an online platform that was collaborative, that allowed the students to be a part of the editorial process, that allowed instructors to also act as editors as if it was a real newsroom environment. So we had this existing website, tnjn.com, which had kind of been established by an instructor, probably a tenured professor, as this kind of project that students could sign up to outside of class. So the decision was, why don't we take this website that we already have and incorporate it into course content? So the first part of the course was... Sure. Yeah.
So why not using like Canvas for all that?
So Canvas...
Blogs and everything, you can put videos there.
So we wanted them to actually be involved in the creation of a news website and to be the part of a news web team. Canvas, you can post assignments, but it's not the same as students feeling like they are part of this. To them, felt more like they were part of a digital news team working on an active, publicly available news site. So the public can come in and view this, and a couple of students got like a couple thousand views on their news stories. So it made them feel like they were not only in the classroom environment, but they were kind of working in the real world news environment through this.
Website tools, because we have all these advertisements all the time. Web tool creation things.
Mm-hmm.
So tell them get a group of students, create that account, and then post things, videos.
I guess because we already had this website, and because it was part of the journalism school, and people already knew about it, and it wasn't really being used to its full potential.
Okay.
So the first part of making the students part of this process was teaching them the back end of the website. So we made them all content editors. We gave them editorial privileges on the website. We taught them how to work the back end of TNJN, how to edit layout, how to edit content, how to post different forms of multimedia through this website.
How many students are we talking?
This was 20 in this class. And then it was expanded this year to the other sections of the course. I think there was 4 sections of 20. So the first was kind of teaching them the basics of web design, the basics of using this kind of platform to edit a website. And then I went about and taught them kind of some modern tools, some that they had already used, but some that they were not aware of. So for some multimedia picture stories, we used Adobe Spark. They have a really easy to use interface where you can make your web pages flow and your images pop up and in and out of each other. We used SoundCloud and Audacity for them to create podcasts. We used Adobe Premiere to create videos, and there's another thing I actually integrated that wasn't part of this grant. I also had the journalism department buy 360 cameras, and we had a section of our course that was, we made 360 feature stories, and then I taught them how to edit 360 using Adobe Premiere and create these packages. We have access to all of this included in the course. Adobe Spark is a free service that anyone can get. Anyone can upload to SoundCloud if you open an account. Audacity is a free audio program, and Premiere we already have installed on all our system computers. In fact, we have the whole Adobe Suite installed on all our journalism computers.
So they have to use those computers, but not their personal laptops.
With Adobe Cloud, we can now give them a license to download Adobe Cloud onto their personal computer.
And is that what's used in the CNN newsroom?
For Adobe Cloud, when they were working collaboratively, yes, they worked across multiple computers on shared projects. We also integrated visualization tools, so taught them how to use, a lot of these are online free visualization software tools to kind of go in the direction that New York Times and The Guardian started, where they take normal news stories that had statistics and convert them into more easily visualized news stories. We taught them how to create timelines. So really all these tools were made available so that they could create different packages. But then how was this incorporated into the course, like course integration? So this is where we did use Canvas. So the syllabus I created, I embedded. This is an example of a week's activity in the class. So if there was tools that they needed access to, I embedded the tools into the Canvas syllabus. When they needed access to something for a certain week, so this week they're working on picture stories. So they're taught photography, smartphone, digital camera editing, how to choose photos. This assignment in class, photographer, who's my friend, allowed us to use her website to show students and have students analyze how to pick pictures for a story. And then we taught them Adobe Spark, embedded the tutorial into the syllabus, and then their assignment was to put together this Adobe Spark story. But that was how we embedded it into the course syllabus. We had to then, create a way of flowing this through the website and then being able to grade that. So how this was done, so I created an assignment. So this is the standard assignment format that would have existed prior to this course, explaining what they're supposed to do, the parameters of the podcast or story when it was created, and the tools that they were supposed to use. The second part of the assignment was kind of new. So instead of what would normally happen, sending a link to the professor through Canvas, what we had them do is go into TNJN, be a journalist, post the story into the Editorial Suite. I then went in and I went through this process of I would make edits, I would suggest changes, this would be sent back to the original content creator, the student. By the time it was ready for publication, I would then approve it for publication, and at the end, go back into Canvas and give them a grade for their assignment. So,
did you use a rubric? Did they know like where everything would count?
yeah, they had, for each of these assignments, you will get a certain number of points for certain conditions of creating the assignment.
So did you use the rubric within Canvas, or did you just create a rubric and post it?
I created a rubric and posted it in the assignment, and then on Canvas, essentially there was like a different grading scheme for if something was not publishable, they could only get to a certain number of points, and then once it had become publishable through the editorial process, then they would move up to the next like grading element.
So it's in the syllabus.
Yeah. So this is kind of an example of the editorial suite. So when people come in, they send something to me, I would mark up things and then send it back to them as an edited page, or I would approve it for publication and publish it. When in Canvas, they were asked to put an initial comment to say that my story has been submitted. This would then go through the editorial process, and then they would finally have their grade and their final comments posted on Canvas. So eventually, after their assignment's completed, their story would be published via TNJN, or TNJN also had linked accounts, like they had a TNJN YouTube account and a TNJN SoundCloud account that their material was cross-posted on. So they were getting their work published online, which was being viewed by the public, not just being viewed by the instructors. So a couple outcomes of the course. So it allowed the students to have real-world application of learned tools and skills. So they felt like this wasn't just a classroom environment, that the tools that they were using were going to end up with the general public being able to view what they'd done with it. It allowed them to experience the digital environment through interaction with the curriculum. So the curriculum was designed to integrate their work with the digital environment, not just to see these digital tools as just a tacked on tool onto a course. It allowed them, which a lot of journalism courses are kind of trying to do but still don't do, to actually experience what it's like to work in a collaborative, edited newsroom environment. So what is it like to have my work submitted, not just for a grade, but would an editor put this online? And what is the process of submitting work to an editor, having it sent back to you until it's of publishable quality? So that also gave them digital publication experience. Some of them had never posted a story online, some of them hadn't had experience working in a newsroom, so it kind of gave them that experience. It also allowed the editorial process to be part of the assignment and grading process. So instead of them just receiving a grade for their first assignment, the process of is this publishable, and until you edit it enough that it is publishable, you can't get a certain grade, allowed that to kind of reflect on their grading process. And I think the biggest part of it was that the tools and the digital experience of the course, they felt like it was blended into the course rather than just being tacked on. It didn't feel, from the feedback we got, students said, rather than previous courses where it felt like being taught these skills was just like, oh, well, this is also a part of the course that you're going to be taught. It felt like the tools were the course. In order to succeed, you had to learn the tools, learn the environment, and be able to go through the process. Okay.
Any other questions?
Yeah, two questions. First of all, what went wrong?
Mm-hmm.
That you didn't expect, and second of all, I run into this all the time because I do a lot of very intensive technology classes. What do you do with the curmudgeons that just suck on computers?
So, for some reason, maybe this is the age, or because these were journalism students, we didn't actually have any people that couldn't learn. Like some people were better at it than others. Some people had done it before. Some people had video experience. Some people had audio experience. But for the most part, I found that if you showed them the website and showed them the tool and then gave them the time to play around with it, most of the time they were able to do it. Sometimes they had to get help from other students. Like a student, I would sometimes in class say, are there students here who feel more familiar with this tool? And then have them sit down with the other students who weren't and kind of show them how to use it. So they're kind of,
peer learning is
yeah.
really important. That's great. Yeah. So any hiccups?
Yes.
That didn't go right?
Yes. So one thing that we're having to deal with now is that website isn't really capable of handling a lot of content editing at one time. If more than like 5 students attempted to log into the editing suite, the website would freeze, which was a problem. So we had to stagger how many of them could access the editing suite at one time. The subscription for the website was a basic subscription on WordPress's basic service. So our tech department are in the process of working out how we move this website from, WordPress hosted site onto our own gem department server, so that our server can handle the requests. Because a lot of times the website would go down if there's too much traffic. So that was an issue. I'm trying to think of other things that came up.
I'm wondering with that new license that IT is working out with WordPress, if this maybe couldn't be part of that?
Mm-hmm.
Having a better site on WordPress, because I know they have different levels of service.
Yeah, it would. I mean, we just need more server capacity
Yeah.
for the website to work, to function more smoothly. One of the other issues we had was removing this. So I was tasked by our journalism director to redesign the course and use it as a pilot study. The tough task has been encouraging other instructors or professors to now embed this into their course, which has been difficult. There's been a lot of people who just said they're happy with what they already do, they don't want to change. So.
Well, you're lucky you have that course number.
Right.
I have that problem just offering a course.
Right.
So we don't need it.
Yeah.
We are doing just fine.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. One of the instructors decided that he could build a website that was better than this, but didn't offer up anyone else to be able to use it. So like those kind of issues, just collaborating with other people and because I get it that you don't want to have to change a curriculum that you already have built and designed and works. So.
Even if it's 20 years old.
Right.
Because nothing changes.
Mm-hmm.
As good as 20 years old. So, also kind of maybe a few questions. One, so what, were the students working really independently on every project? How big were the projects? So, like, I think sometimes you say, well, make a timeline, you show
Mm-hmm.
but my experience is you show something how you would do, and then everybody understands, and then when they have to do it, you think they're going to be doing it in 2 days, and in 7 days, nothing is done. And
Right.
They take it much longer. So, how did you adapt kind of partitioning, like
Yeah.
tasks?
Yeah.
as
So.
well as, okay. And
So-
then just adjusting, like you see they cannot do, like you say in 1 week you need to get it done.
Yeah.
Somebody says, I cannot make that graph. You showed
Yeah.
us the graph, you showed us, and then I cannot.
Right. So.
The numbers are different, scales are different, whatever.
So the at the start of the course they were.
Those were always difficult.
Yeah, at the start of the course there was really 4 deadlines.
Okay.
And so at the start of the course, they also were tasked with coming up with ideas for, okay, these stories are going to come up in the video week in October. There's going to be a deadline to produce a video story. So start thinking now at the start of semester what stories could be. So we had them to start like exploring their beat, is what you call it in journalism.
Which semester, is that what you said?
1 story per section. So we had a photo section where they had to go out and collect images and create a Spark, a podcast, or video. So that week, that section we gave people a choice to either do audio or video, so that kind of people that are more familiar with one could choose one task or the other. There was the digital visualization story, or the data journalism. That was the third section, and the final project was their 360 videos. Yeah.
Did you all incorporate captioning in any of the assignments?
Yeah, so the one thing that they had to do for all their video, it had to be able to be seen or heard, so read or heard.
Read or versus.
Or and. Sorry, yes, yeah, sorry, and. Yeah, because a lot of the things in journalism is people are going to watch your video clips in their office, but they don't want their boss to know. So you have to have captioning for that, even if it's not for accessibility purposes, which is obviously the end result.
Yes. Well, the other thing is that we also encourage faculty to not only use multiple options for accessibility, but for UDL as well, Universal Design for Learning, and the fact that you gave them options with the assignment, that they can either do a video or the podcast or a timeline or what have you.
Yeah.
One of the things that we emphasize is we're trying to move away from this always providing a paper or taking an exam or providing an essay at the end of the class. How are you allowing students options to demonstrate to you that they fully understand the content? Because some students are just paralyzed that this is all I got to do, stand before the class and give a presentation. I might be able to create an animation that fully explains the concept much better than I can putting myself at the podium.
Right.
You know, especially if I don't intend to ever be in this environment as a broadcaster. I might always intend to work behind the scenes in the camera.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. I'm in the English department, and we have sort of a similar issue with that in that, a lot of the classes, especially the first year writing courses, they are expected to produce written work.
Right.
And with this, there are certain genres you're expecting, that's what you're training them to do, is these different digital genres. But yeah, I do like that where you were able to give them that option, like the option, audio or video.
Yeah, and even in their video teams or their 360 teams, they were allowed to partner up with people that had different experience. So I said, like, who's good at video, who thinks they're comfortable with camera work? And who thinks they're good with back-end video editing? And who just wants to, be the admin person in the group who arranges interviews, draws up the interviews, arranges timing and stuff, and then kind of partnered those people up together.
Which again sounds like a real world kind of team.
Yeah.
But the other thing I like is it seems like you designed it going from the easiest interface to the hard one, like starting with Spark and winding up with Premiere.
Yeah.
I'm well aware of the relative user friendliness of those two platforms. So yeah.
And it was probably because I was learning as the course was going also, so I put the things I knew I would teach better at the start of the course.
So editing. So was there only one editor?
So they were doing collaborative editing. So if there was maybe each of their video teams was four of them. So they would. A lot of times it would really just be one person sitting with another person on one computer and the other two sitting on another computer, and because they would have two people that are comfortable at video editing, and they would collaborate using Adobe Cloud.
And it wasn't a computer lab?
We had a computer lab, yeah.
So it's a part of the course, or it's just once a week in the computer lab? Or
This course is all lab.
It's all lab-based?
Yeah, all lab. So all of our classes were scheduled in computer labs. And that's typical for all our journalism courses, even if they're being given lectures, is to have them in a computer lab, maybe just because that's the facilities we have access to.
Yeah, I hope OIT keeps that message that labs are super important, because I remember a few years ago they're saying, oh, we won't need lab computers anymore because all the students will have their own laptop and everything, and it just never panned out. And I think lab department labs and college labs are really important.
Yeah, and you also can't, I think that we assume that students have their own stuff all the time, or that it's a certain standard, but I don't think all students, I had a student come to me last week who was not doing well on his exams, and turns out that he hadn't had a textbook because he couldn't afford one all semester. So.
So, but still, what if one of those students finishes and then goes to Chattanooga's herald new startup.
Mhm.
So will they be able to afford all the, you said software is free, but Adobe, we
Yeah.
have a license, but I actually don't think instructors, when they say we have a license, think where the student's gonna go. So if they go
Yeah.
to Chattanooga Herald,
Mhm.
how are they gonna work? Well, it seems like Adobe first one, I don't know.
Yeah, a lot of the software I taught them was stuff you can just get online, or at least,
You mean for free?
yeah, free access to tools. In terms of video editing software,
Something that I think it's very important to keep in mind. I mean, I am breaking those in math department. Everybody teaches MATLAB, and I'm saying, why are you teaching MATLAB? They, you know, depends where people go, and sometimes it's okay.
yeah,
But it costs $10,000. And then I say if they go to small community college teaching math, they're not going to have that money.
yeah.
They
So
won't be teaching that.
for-
Of course, everybody hates me.
for video software, for this, because we were doing the 360, which requires kind of a more capable editing suite, we did use Adobe Premiere, but there are other packages. A lot of students who had video editing experience could do most of the stuff that they can do in Adobe on Windows Movie Maker or on iMovie. I mean, a lot of it is just cutting and blending
I
between
agree.
clips. So
That's essentially my thought for the future is that consider the possibility that your students may not have access. So as long as the access is, as you say, free or reasonably affordable, or any, like maybe they want to start their own business and
Yeah.
they want to do it like freelancers. Right? You don't want them to spend $5,000 a year with, or whatever as subscription just because this is where you stop them. So
Right.
use the tool that they can freely, as much as you can. Of course, there are trade-offs. Sometimes there's only poker tier software, which is really, really best, and you want to give the best. Maybe. But maybe for Chattanooga Herald, it's okay not to use the best. And it still could be good quality. So.
yeah.
Did you get any feedback from students that, let's say, felt that this course was not only very engaging and hands-on for them, but they felt that their level of interest, or level of understanding or retention was greater?
I think that from the feedback in that direction I got was that they felt that they had learned the tools in a more practical way. So they were able to kind of imagine how I would use this if I was to do this myself on a project. So I guess that kind of practical learning is something that they expressed. Definitely better than printing out a blog post and having it just marked up.